welcome to our 20th podcast. 20 not out, Hearty.
20, yeah. Unlike the England tail end.
Exactly. We're still hanging in there. The People's Pundits. That's myself and Ian Hart, and I'm glad to say we've got Ben Leo back, second time guest.
Must have done something right last time.
You must have done something right, but sadly Ben Stokes was still suspended when you was there. He was originally suspended.
Yeah.
Just quickly, as a sports journalist, with the most important, one of the most important sporting contests going on, it can't help our cause that the best cricketer in this country and possibly one of the top 3 cricketers in the world is under police investigation and not playing cricket.
Well, the Sun, my colleagues who wrote that story, we broke it. We did hint in the story what the fracas was about, and it was because, and it's since come out, that he was
defending
sticking up for some lads, for some gay lads who were getting some stick. So I've always personally thought that he shouldn't have been under investigation by the police. I think they should have just forgotten about it and considered the circumstances, and I don't think he should have been suspended from playing either. But I don't
see. I know somebody, sadly, that committed didn't commit an offence.
Careful.
But I know someone that was accused of something the other Wednesday, and they appeared in a court at Brighton Magistrates Court on the Saturday morning.
Yeah.
In a special court on a similar sort of allegations to what Stokes is. I think it's absolutely ludicrous. Sorry, we're digressing. It's like question time. But
I like it. Well,
what do you think, Kev? Because you're like King Solomon. What do you think?
Well, I think it's the time, isn't it? Why does it take this long? That's the thing I don't get. Why is it taking this long to reach, the decision of what he's going to be charged with and everything else? Don't understand.
On the flip side of that, though, he, as a professional cricketer, he shouldn't have been out at that time boozing anyway, should he? Whether he was boozing or not, who knows? But he was out at that time.
Let's get to the dentist chair.
Yeah.
Let's get to Bobby Moore and Jimmy Greaves in the 007 club in 1970. Where'd you stop?
Yeah, time's meant to be different, though, aren't they? You got
two wrongs don't make a right, Hearty. I'm afraid.
There's a joke about Ian Wright and 2 Chinese players. But anyway, let's go.
No, we don't want you prosecuted as well.
No.
So, and Ben, of course, the challenge is that no guest has been on 3 times. So if your performance is top draw, you could be breaking new records. No one's come back a 3rd time.
I'm a bit hungover today, so the high risk that a hat trick's not going to happen.
Well, for those who didn't remember Ben last time, you've heard Sun journalist, but also a Gooner, aren't you? Importantly,
big Arsenal fan. Yeah,
so we know there's a Gooner. So I guess today, gents, in terms of the topics, we're going to be doing a bit of a Barry Norman in terms of a film review. We've got 2 big footy movies out this week. Kenny, obviously about Kenny Dalglish, and 89 about some meaningless game that between Arsenal and Liverpool. I think there was a league title involved.
I don't think it was meaningless.
We'll touch on that later. I can see Ben smiling already on that one. So we've got a couple of movies, and we're also going to look at the Alan Shearer documentary on the BBC around Alzheimer's in football. So we're going to cover that, and then, as usual, super cool and a major tool. But before we get into that, gents, reflecting on the weekend of football, getting quite interesting. I was looking at, we know Brighton in 9th spot at the moment, but only a 6-point gap between them in 9th and 3rd from bottom in the Premier League. So it's looking incredibly tight. Would you two say from Brighton down, that's the 3 going down are going to come from that group?
No, I think, Brighton have got some hard games coming up. Obviously, at time of going to press, we've got Palace on Tuesday night, and then we've got Liverpool on Saturday. We've then got Huddersfield and Tottenham, and then Burnley and Watford before going to Chelsea on Boxing Day. There's no easy game in the Premiership, we know that. Even tomorrow night isn't going to be an easy game. But you've probably got 3 or 4 games there that the Albion have got to think are winnable. They've got to go to Huddersfield and think they can win.
But do you think from Brighton down, everyone there is in a relegation?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they're in a relegation fight. I think there's always that threat. But I wouldn't say I'm more confident. We'll come on to where I've been this morning, but I'm more confident now I mean, and Brighton are getting credit, for being ninth and playing some decent football. I think there's a lot of bad sides. You went to Swansea and I went to Swansea. I mean, they are in free fall.
They're definitely. I think it's Swansea plus 2 others.
They're in free fall, and I think West Ham and maybe Huddersfield will get sucked into it. I can't see. All right, never say never. I can't see us getting sucked into a relegation.
What do you think, Ben? As a with no blue and white spectacles on, what do you see? Do you think everyone's in it from Brighton down?
Yeah, I think if you look at the table from today, from Brighton to the bottom, then it's all they're all going to be scrapping. I think, like you said, but I think Swansea are looking really bad. Everton, obviously, they're the big topic at the moment, but are they going to turn things round? Palace seem to be turning things round, but
I met an Everton fan that was in the opposing dugout at Sunday football yesterday, and he came out with the classic cliche: "We're too good to go down," and that was before they got done at Southampton.
Well, Newcastle were saying that, weren't they?
I think, well, Newcastle, if Benitez goes and this takeover doesn't go through, you don't know that they could.
It's all about the choice of manager at Everton, surely.
Well, they're talking about Allardyce now.
Well, he's odds on now. He's 1 to 5 on.
And you never see a bookie on a bike there.
A lot of money today on Sam Allardyce to take over, so to be seen. But as far as Brighton go, I've got a nice wedge on them to finish in the top half of the table.
Well, that's
season,
good, you said, and they see you'll be welcome back in my house again. But with your man love crush with Silva, so why did he stay at Watford? Why do you think he didn't?
Well, I don't know. The Everton were going to have to pay a lot of money, weren't they, to buy him out of the contract?
But apparently they got a lot of money with the Shah of Iran or whatever.
Well, he's flying at Watford, isn't he, at the minute? Let's be honest. What are they? 8th or something at the moment? They're certainly above Brighton, so they've got to be, 8th or 7th? He's got them playing well, hasn't he? I suppose, is it great on the CV to be taking your 3rd Premier League job in about 10 months? I don't think that looks particularly good. And if he can have a good season at Watford, if he keeps them up there, who knows what opportunities he'll get next. As I've said, as you know, with my man crush, I think he will manage a top 6 side in the Premier League, or he'll manage a big club elsewhere. I think it'll be
Silva's probably in the same boat as Sean Dyche, isn't he, at Burnley? He's got some security. He knows that.
See, I think Dyche and Houghton are in, and we touched on this the other day. I think Dyche and Houghton are in wonderful jobs because they've got owners that are local owners. All the Burnley owners are Lancastrians, all the Burnley board are Lancastrians. Tony Bloom's been coming to the Albion since his granddad was the vice chairman back in the 70s. And we've got British managers, as Burnley proved, even when they went down, Dyche didn't go. And I think, never say never, and everyone, Peter Reid said the only thing you can guarantee about being a football manager, eventually you will get the sack one day. I think they're both in jobs that we get. All right, we'll never get to the Arsene Wenger, Ferguson type thing, but I mean, Dyche has been in job for five years.
Don't you think we pigeonhole these managers though? Because I just think it's a bit like the whole Allardyce and Pulis bit. All these managers seem to come with a strap line, and then we just think of them that one-dimensional. It's like Pulis and Allardyce. They'll come and save you, but don't trust them to do any more than that. I think Dyche has got a badge of playing a certain type of football at a lower level. Or smaller clubs, perceived smaller clubs. Can he do it at a big club? Silva's probably got a reputation already, even though he's not done it, of playing, because of the type of football he plays. This guy can go all the way. Yeah. I think a lot of these managers get pigeonholed. And Houghton, you look at Houghton's record's great, but he is almost pigeonholed as right. He's the sort of guy who'll get you out of the Championship, solid performance. He'll probably keep you up in the Premier League, but he's never going to do more than that.
Well, I think it's the same at the top as well. You've got Wenger, who for the past 10 years has just been known for securing Champions League football. So I think it works at the top. But I think Sean Dyche and the likes of Silva would be better off staying where they are, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, it looks like they're going to, doesn't it? It's amazing how Allardyce, they weren't interested in him, and now suddenly he's favourite.
We had a very talented British manager, in my opinion, in David Moyes at Everton. He'd done longevity, he'd got them playing.
The saviour of West Ham.
And now, went to Manchester United and he failed, went to Spain and he failed, went to Sunderland, failed. Is he going to save West Ham? I mean,
how did he get the job? I would like to know. But
why?
Well, like you just said, 3 failures and he turns up at West Ham.
Yeah, but we've said this before, Kev. It's the only, apart from probably banking, it's the only occupation where you can actually balls up, get the sack, and then 2 months later someone will give you a same job doing something else.
I was surprised he got the job because Karen Brady is known for not being a big fan of him after his comments about the female journo saying he was going to give her a slap.
Right,
she did a column in The Sun shortly after that. It's proper, ripping into him. So
and 6 months.
She's on The Apprentice. She must be good.
Yeah, 6 month contract. I mean, if you're a player, Moyes is short term, don't you? 6 month deal. Anyway, we shall see what happens to the Hammers, won't we, gentlemen? So
no, just to clarify that, yeah. So if Karen Brady was that against him, do you think she was overruled then, Ben?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it. At the time, she really laid into him. She wasn't happy with it. A lot of people weren't happy with what he said. I thought it was
lots
quite
of the
funny,
things
really.
she says for effect. She is a bit more than hairdo and perfume, and she's a very, very talented person because she's got as far as she's got. But
at the end of the day, it's a business, isn't it? She's running a business, and if she thinks this guy is going to, save their coffers, then get him on board.
I'm sure they'll all be flocking back to the London Stadium.
But will they stay for 90 minutes though?
Unlikely, I think. And just one bit of a promo here before we kick into the agenda. Mr. Hart, you've been mixing with senior management at Brighton and Hove Albion.
I don't think it's senior management.
Very senior.
We had a little bit of a one-off today, a special which we went to film with Paul Barber, which will be out on YouTube.
So let people know who don't know who Paul Barber is.
Paul Barber is the Chief Executive Officer of Brighton and Hove Albion, and I had a quick brief chat with him which we filmed. And that will be out on YouTube before the Liverpool game at the end of the week. This should be out on Wednesday afternoon. So we'll have a couple of days to digest this, and then we'll go into the YouTube.
You've got audio and visual in 1 week.
Audio, visual, marvellous stuff, isn't it? Yeah.
Right then. So, film reviews. Let's start off. And I guess it depends on the age and demographic of the audience. We've got a good demographic in here. Ben's just filled us in that he was born in '89, which made us feel great.
I think I've got a jumper old man upstairs. Would you like to take it over?
So the first footy movie out, and obviously the sporting documentaries are becoming big business number one. They're becoming real, like the
Did you see the Gaza one?
Biggie. Gaza.
There's one on Gaza, wasn't there?
We've had motor with the Senna one. I think which did hugely well, didn't it? But anyway, we get more and more of these. So Kenny Dalglish, and I guess just sort of position a bit of this guy. There's the one side of Dalglish which says, you look at the trophy. He's the last Liverpool manager to win a trophy. He's the last Liverpool manager to win the league. Won 6, titles as a player, 3 European Cups. League Cups, he did I think 3 titles as a manager, won the double anyway. So he's done something. Celtic, look at that! Come on.
Sliding doors though.
I'm trying to cut it down. There's so many trophies.
But sliding doors now, Kev. If Keegan hadn't gone to Hamburg in '77, would he have even signed for Liverpool? Because he was ultimately Keegan's replacement.
He was Keegan's replacement, absolutely.
Yeah. So if Keegan hadn't gone to Hamburg, would history have been different?
But look, they both did alright out of it. Keegan went on to be double Ballon d'Or winner, didn't he, at Hamburg?
Yeah.
And
Kenny, in the charts as
Kenny's a legend.
King Kenny.
Yeah. But the interesting thing about the documentary, so you've got the player, the manager, Celtic, Liverpool, but of course he's associated with 3 footballing, disasters. Obviously, there's Hillsborough, as we all know, while Liverpool manager. He also experienced the Ibrox disaster as a fan. And as a player, taking over at High.
Was he not playing for Celtic then?
No, not at all.
He was a supporter,
he was in the crowd.
He was in the crowd. So he must have been a Celtic reserve then.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he was. Yeah, at the game. So he was there at Ibrox as a fan. As Heysel, of course, at Liverpool. Yeah. He was asked to take up the manager's job after that, and then Hillsborough. So there's quite a lot, I would say, packed into this film about what he's done. I suppose, particularly in support, the Hillsborough thing has obviously gone on for years, and in terms of the contribution that him and his wife Marina have made towards that, there's accolades galore on it. George Best, talking in the highest, highest levels, and he was also a Ballon d'Or runner-up in '83 behind Michel Platini. So that's where he was cutting it. I mean, I'd be really interested with the two of you. I guess Ben from being a younger guy, and I don't know how Kenny Dalglish is perceived from your age group, whether you just see him as a manager or is the playing history there, and then maybe on to Harty about where you would pitch Dalglish in the sort of football Hall of Fame type thing.
Kenny was, I mean, his accomplishments were way before my time. So as you mentioned, I was born in '89. So my last sort of memories of him, I guess, are when he came back to manage Liverpool again. When I think he oversaw the Suarez Evra incident, and from that particular incident, where the Liverpool team all came out with T-shirts supporting Suarez and things like that, he, for me, seemed to lead that, and that kind of is my lasting memory of him. And I thought it was a bit distasteful, to be honest. So, being a younger guy, that's my
I can't believe you summarised Kenny Dalglish's career with the Luis Suarez T-shirt.
That's what I mean, because I'm 28.
Distasteful.
Because I'm 28, that's my.
But did he? I was interested. Like, you know, like big, let's say like, you know, Pele, Cruyff, whatever. You don't have to have been born at that era to sort of know about them.
Yeah.
Do you think Dalglish then in your generation is not really known as much of what he did as a player?
He's definitely known.
I
know of him, but I think if you're really going to hold people in high esteem, you want to have seen them playing in the flesh or been alive when they were playing. For younger guys like me, obviously we know who Kenny Dalglish is and what he's achieved, but I
think it's the saturation of football going back to 1992 and with all the live football, and you know, match of the day only used to have 2 games on, and the big match on a Saturday, on a Sunday afternoon. So the top players, you only saw them sporadically. You read about them in the papers, and I think they were on a different sort of level to what they are now. It's they're still big. I mean, I see Messi's just signed a contract. Is it half a million a week? So you know, so they're still on, but it's a different way now, isn't it?
So what was your take? I mean, you obviously are from the era, Harty, would have witnessed Dalglish. Where is he in your mind as a neutral in terms of his status as a player and a manager?
He is a great. I would put him up there with the likes of Charlton, Best, Law. You know, to a degree, probably not quite up with Pele and Cruyff, but you know, a great, probably someone that if you went into a football bar in Nigeria, they would know who Kenny Dalglish was.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Do you remember the goal he scored in the World Cup qualifier for Scotland against Wales at Anfield?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
When Wales their attack had broken down and they broke away, and it was a flying header. Do you remember that?
I do. Top corner. Yeah. He's joint top scorer, isn't he, with Dennis Law for Scotland?
Yeah, I just think he's a great.
Well.
In the summer of '77, he was actually 60 grand less than Keegan. They got 500 grand for Keegan. I signed Dalglish for 440 grand.
Correct.
And it was almost like, by the time they got to September, October, it was almost like Kevin Who, wasn't it? It was.
He definitely hit the ground running, didn't he? Straight away.
Didn't he score 6 in 7, something like that?
He had a great. I remember even the Charity Shield. He hit the bar over. So he was sort of straight in there in terms of.
Who would you compare him to today? Because I never saw him play in the flesh. I've seen clips of him. But
that's a difficult one because football's moved on, hasn't it? Because of the influx of the foreign players. There's not really.
He's more like a number in a way, like what you would see with the number 10s now, because he was.
But he wore number 7, didn't he?
He wore number 7, but like Ian Rush, he's obviously record, goal scorer for Liverpool. The amount of goals he set up for Rush, so he played a lot of assists as well as being very skillful. A lot of goals, outside the box as well. He's well known for just like shielding the ball, great passing as well as a finisher. And one thing I tell you that does come across in the documentary is that connection with the fans. I don't just mean through Hillsborough. I mean that era of footballers, they were so much more entrenched with the supporters. There wasn't that distance because there wasn't, I guess, that great disparity financially as well. And watching that, you see how much he's revered by the community. I think Glasgow and in Liverpool in terms of the association with those clubs. Quite interesting. Jock Stein, another thing, big influence because he's a Rangers fan.
Was he?
As a kid, his dad supported Rangers, and it was Celtic. One of Jock Stein's assistants, basically came round his house, left his wife and kids in the car, spent an hour convincing Dalglish to come to Celtic. knowing he was a Rangers boy. So yeah.
It's an interesting point about being close to the fans. Even in the sort of 90s when I was growing up, Arsenal players, Adams, Bold, Dixon, would all be down the pub before the game and after the game with fans and stuff. But you just don't get that now.
Tony Adams spent too much time on the pub, didn't he? Do you remember when he got done for drink driving when he was well, you wouldn't, you were 1 year old, and he smashed into a wall?
Yeah, I've heard about it.
And then someone said the ref was asking him to move the wall back.
Yeah.
That's a seamless link into '89 there, Ben, isn't it? The other football movie out this week was obviously similar time around. Yeah, that was the year of Hillsborough. You know, that final game to settle the league title in '89. I think the league was suspended for like 5 weeks over Hillsborough. And interestingly, Arsenal, going into that game, so for everyone's benefit, you know, Arsenal had to win at Anfield by 2 clear goals to win the league.
Was it really 5? I don't think it was 5 weeks, was it? Was it 5 weeks?
Shall I have a look?
Go on, we'll go online.
Yeah, I don't think it was suspended.
But for that, I guess for that period, the key thing is that Arsenal had actually led the table for most of that year. Yeah. Had actually got into a terrible run. Their last 2 games before playing Liverpool in that game, they were home to Derby and home to Wimbledon. They lost to Derby at home, drew with Wimbledon, and I guess that George Graham is giving the context that going into that game, you know, Liverpool were on this crescendo of just winning game after game, and had caught Arsenal up and had only just overtaken them. And Arsenal were off the back of a really
bad run.
Poor run going into that.
Because it was the Friday after the cup final, wasn't it?
Well, interestingly, they turned up on the day because George Graham said he wanted to get in and out of Liverpool quickly on the basis that he didn't want the players feeling the pressure. So Paul Mercer was saying the Arsenal players actually travelled up to the game on the day, which is like, you know, unheard of, basically.
Right, I think it's akin to. I was listening to something from Amy Lawrence, the Guardian sports writer who helped produce the film 89.
Okay, yeah.
And she was saying that, you know, it would be akin to Arsenal today going to Man City in the form they're in, last game of the season, needing to beat them by 2 goals and you know and triumphing against the odds. And I'll never forget what I've watched on YouTube even now, but because it's the year I was born, I think it's, you know, a nice coincidence. But Michael Thomas threw on goal, and the commentator, what does he say? It's up for grabs now.
It's up for grabs, Brian Moore, yeah.
But you watch the clip, and you think, shoot. And I can't imagine what it'd be like, you know, actually there in the flesh. And you think, just pull the trigger.
But he was so calm. That was Lee Dixon was saying that exactly. They're all watching him like slow motion, and he said, and Thomas says on the film, it was it John Barnes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
John Barnes was up by the corner flag, and that Liverpool side, and the defender said it, instead of just like staying at the corner flag or hoofing it into the crowd or anything, he decided to try and take him on and score another goal, and of course lost it straight down the other end. But Thomas, the composure, and he even said he was waiting for Grobler to go down. It was like, who's going to make the first move? And he waited, and then he just dinked it over.
Composure.
I mean, incredible in that moment.
Yeah. I wonder if Grobler was on 2-0.
Yes, right. That's right.
The cheeky wager on it.
But I mean, for no one, that obviously the back four sort of legendary, isn't it? In Arsenal, still to this day.
Yeah, and I think Wenger gets too much credit for his early success at Arsenal because he inherited a wicked back four and a good set of lads.
I mean, they made a little bit of a. They had a blip when they went for Rioch, wasn't it? In between.
Yeah, it's about 6 months, I think. But he signed Bergkamp.
Yeah, he did.
Rioch, so
but I'm saying Graham went for non-football reasons, didn't he? I mean, I'm not saying that he'd have stayed there as long as Arsene Wenger.
Yeah.
But he'd have probably stayed there for quite some time.
It was interesting. The players, he literally his whole apparently team talk before the game at half time was basically everyone thinks we're going to get. It said all in the papers, Arsenal going to have to go for Liverpool, got to win by 2 goals. And Graham just told them, 0-0 at half time, keep it tight, we're going to nick 1, and then they're going to feel the pressure, and we're going to steal at the end. And of course, when they went in at 0-0, and they said the game was nothing, it was like both teams were almost a bit petrified to do anything. And they got in at half time, and Graham was just fantastic, just what we wanted, just what you've executed the plan to perfection, you know. Now we're going to nick the first goal. They're going to, and he always sort of wrote
Right,
the scripts, but they were almost brainwashed and thinking, this is how it's going to be. And of course, Rocastle as well. There was Ian Wright on there. And obviously, the whole sad story about him afterwards. But yeah.
Well, I'm just reading here that a peak British television audience of over 12 million saw the game. That's incredible. Imagine 12 million today. I know you've got worldwide audiences, but 12 million in Britain, watching the game.
Yeah. See, but the cup final, if you go back a little bit further, Ben,
more than that,
the cup final used to get that every year, didn't it? On both sides.
And it was 18 years since Arsenal won the title.
Yeah.
It's the other
12 years before that, on Christmas night, Morecambe Wise got 29 million.
Yeah.
And they never won the league.
So, George Graham sort of come out of management too soon.
I think he was always flawed. I think the problem with the John Jensen thing and
don't think he had a choice, did he? Really?
I think getting a sack from Arsenal and being frowned upon, and then going to Leeds, and then he went to Spurs, didn't he? And always difficult. That's probably another topic that to sort of go across a divide and manage. I know players have gone across divides, but for Graham to actually go, I know Terry Neal had done it previously.
Yeah.
Basically, go from Arsenal to Spurs. I can't see Aguero. I can't see Guardiola going to United.
No.
Can you?
No. There's quite a few of them with Arsenal Spurs. I mean, I suppose more as players.
Yeah, no, I've seen management. That top. And
there's talk of Brent coming to today's game. There's talk of Rodgers going to Everton. Would you see him doing that?
I thought he'd come out and said he wouldn't do it.
Oh, has he said that?
I'm sure I had someone say that he wouldn't go to Everton.
So I saw it on Sky Sports News or something. And I was thinking, hang on, would he do that? I know he's been.
You can't do that, Brendan. Come on.
No, you are.
But Liverpool didn't want him, did they? So
his position had become untenable after that thrashing at Stoke at the end. So who did you think Arsenal had a chance? That 89? Can you remember when you were watching that?
I was watching it in the Clifton pub. Sadly, no longer with us. I thought it was an exciting game. I mean, that could because my London, my granddad Hart being London-based, Arsenal were always his team. So that was wonderful for him to be sitting at home watching that. I think he was aged about 87 then. So that was good.
I bumped into Alan Smith a couple of months back. Obviously the former Arsenal striker who banged in there first, and he said that they went up to Liverpool not expecting to win. They were pretty much going through the motions, he said, which is incredible really. If you're going to head into a game thinking you're not going to win, the chances are you won't. But it was interesting speaking to him, but he said they had a right old party afterwards.
Yeah, I bet they did. I remember seeing it on the news the following morning that they got back to Highbury about 3 o'clock in the morning, so I'd imagine there was...
Well, they had, but with back to this thing about being closer to the fans, they in the film, they stopped it because they were thinking we're not going to, back then, so all the clubs were shutting at like 2 in the morning, we're not going to get back in time to go anywhere. And they went to this club called Winners in North London. And on the film, actually, it's got all photos and clips of all the players, and I mean the guys they had the guys on who run that bar.
Yeah.
And imagine the fans that were in there that night. I mean, you never get loads of them have mementos like ties and shirts and whatever but they all celebrated with the fans in like a London bar. It's just like amazing. Nuts. Can you imagine that now?
Well, Brighton
Pep's boys won't be down the local, will they?
You had sort of Knockout and not down West Street in Brighton, didn't they? Yeah. Which was quite nice, but it's a rarity. You see,
it's quite nice. He said it cost us the title, mate. But never mind.
I think it did. I think it did.
I think it did.
I think David Stockdale cost us the title.
I think it was I think it's borderline unprofessional when the season is still
I don't think it was that. I think it was the disrespectful way that we treated Bristol City on that 29th of April, when we basically had a coronation before we kicked off.
Totally.
And we had Zamora and Peter Ward being interviewed. What's it going to be like when we lift the championship at 5 o'clock? And not even thinking that Bristol City
I agree.
actually had a team. I think it was totally disrespectful. And I hope, and that was one of the things Paul Barber alluded to, that they had made mistakes, and everybody makes mistakes in life, and they learn from them. And I hope that was something that they will learn from.
Yeah, I can't imagine Houghton would have been happy with the way that the season finished, despite getting promoted.
That was like it was like a Neil Kinnock rally, wasn't it, in Sheffield before losing to Thatcher?
That was a strange old line in '92. You were only 3, so you didn't.
I remember the front page of the Sun. They've got a massive version of it in the office.
Oh, the
old light bulb,
the last turn the lights out.
It takes pride of place over London Bridge.
There we go.
So I feel like I've done a lot of talking about these 2 documentaries. So I'm now going to hand over to you boys about I wanted to touch on the Alan Shearer piece around Alzheimer's in football, and I think he'd seen a film apparently about American footballers on a plane somewhere, and talking about head injuries and the amount of money now in American football to basically sort of address this, research into it as well as supporting people affected, and that got him, and the link to Jeff Astle, obviously died in his 50s. And links to is it links to Alzheimer's? I think they called it industrial injury or something for Jeff Astle. And so Shearer was trying to, I guess, get to the bottom of this. Nobby Stiles is suffering from Alzheimer's as well.
Jimmy Greaves has had a stroke, hasn't he? And
So I don't know, what do you guys feel on that in terms of, is it
sadly,
a
it's
valid
quite close to home, and it's no secret that he isn't in the best of health now. Norman Gall, who was a prolific centre back with the Albion in the 60s and 70s, and then was my co-host on the phone in the noughties, or whatever they call them. Norman's not enjoying the best of health and has had, he's developing symptoms. One of the old-fashioned centre backs heading loads of balls, so there's got to be something there. As you say, industrial injuries and.
It's the same with boxing, isn't it? You see the way sort of people like Muhammad Ali turned out and whatnot. There's got to be a link, and I think science has proved that. But the problem is,
I think the problem with Muhammad Ali, Ben, was that he was allowed to go on too long, and there were other issues. And you talk about books and DVDs. There's several DVDs and books on Muhammad Ali, and failing his medical before he fought Larry Holmes. And still being allowed to fight, but going back to the football thing.
But what do you do with the football now? Because I've just got back from America on a holiday, and I was speaking to some of my girlfriend's family, and the kids who play what they call soccer over there, they're not allowed to head the ball until about sort of 9 or 10. They start quite young, I've heard rumours of that over here as well.
That's a dangerous.
Exactly.
I don't know where we go.
They still do that with the Liverpool centre halves. They're not allowed to arrive at the moment.
Lovren. Yeah.
But no, it's very, very sad, and I hope that with all the money swilling around in the game now, and as we've touched on, the likes of Messi getting half a million.
But this is the point.
These people are looked after. Because that's the Astle's point, isn't it?
This is it. It's 15. It's basically Jeff Astle died in 2002, and Shearer's piece here is saying 15 years later, that effectively the FA and the PFA are no closer to knowing the impact that heading a ball has on the brain. So where have they been in terms of supporting, research into this, looking after their players, understanding what the impact is? And that's why Shearer's pushing it. And he's saying they've only just agreed to fund some research into it. So why is it taking 15 years? And that's why Jeff Astle's family been pushing it so hard. So this is the issue.
Well, you with a tinfoil hat on, you could say that the people at the top of the FA and the Premier League and whatnot know that there's a link and probably don't want it to get out, because then
when there's a blame, there's a claim. Because the thing was with Jeff Astle, it wasn't one aside, was it? If this is proved, and then what happens? Is it the clubs that are liable for it, or is it the Football Association?
It's a massive can of worms.
It's going to be a domino effect. It could have serious ramifications.
But you do wonder because the other interesting thing he called out, that the Fabrice Muamba situation, on the pitch, and he was saying, he had the heart attack. Within 6 months, there were defibrillators at every ground, basically within 6 months. This is 15 years still not being addressed. It's
unbelievable that it's not. You think with all, like you said, with all the money in the game and the experts involved, why has the link not been found or disproven? And just going back to Mwamba, you see Michael Carrick put a statement on Twitter yesterday or the day before saying that he'd been out of the game because he found a heart problem.
Yes,
well, so did Connor Goldson as well, didn't he?
Yeah,
Connor Goldson had
Brighton. Yeah, absolutely.
So from such a tragic incident as Mwamba, I mean, it was amazing he survived, really. But you've had a lot of positives, like you said, with clubs doing a lot of proactive work to get defibrillators in the game and whatnot. So there needs to be something done with the Alzheimer's.
Well, hopefully that will be, that will sort of kick-start it off the back of this, giving it the PR. You got to hope it gets something going, basically. So after film reviews, the Outsiders, we're going to get to our
references to Morecambe and Wise, which some of our younger listeners might not even know who they are.
me included, I think.
Google Morecambe and Wise and Christmas specials.
Get on YouTube.
Christmas specials.
1977.
After you've obviously Googled the People's Pundits to see Harty's interview.
Beautiful.
Clearly. So, Super Cool and Major Tool. So, Mr. Hart, so we start with you.
Yeah, I'm going with Super Cool.
Super Cool.
Super Cool. I'm actually going for your man crush, Marco Silva. If only for his victory. That's wrong. Rewind. I'm going for the fact, not only because of his victory up at Newcastle, clearly, and we've alluded to it, that he was Everton's target or a target for Everton, and that he's actually had a bit of stickability, as Ian Dowie used to call it. Or no, bounce back ability, wasn't it? So he's had a bit of stickability and a bit of loyalty.
Yes.
Which is something that's probably lacking in our game.
Good shout. Well, you won't hear me, obviously, going against Mr. Silva being nominated.
Hi-ho, Silva.
And how about you, Ben, for Super Cool?
Super Cool, I think, is going to be found this Saturday in the Premier League. It's the league's partnership with Stonewall, the LGBT charity.
All right.
So you're going to have all the clubs and all the players wearing rainbow laces and whatnot, and sort of rainbow armbands and things, which is, it's a nice touch. But I think the wider issue of homophobia in the game and inclusivity is important. So well done to the Premier League for that, and hopefully, if there are any sort of players still in the closet who don't feel like they can come out at the moment, hopefully that it could be a catalyst for change on that front. So that's my Super Cool.
We mentioned that before. There's a couple of things like that rainbow laces thing. I know in the past it's obviously been a voluntary thing, and the take up wasn't great, was it?
From the clubs?
Yeah, from the clubs and the players in terms of the amount that did it. And I'm with you. I mean, we sort of discussed this before. I mean, I'm still amazed that we've not had, that footballers still feel that they can't come out. Clearly, we saw that, was it Gareth Thomas, isn't it, the rugby player who came out?
But Gareth Thomas came out, but it's still, unfortunately, in any walk of life. I mean, I don't want to open up a can of worms 37 minutes in. But Kevin Spacey has decided to go in a different direction, just to almost cover his tracks. So clearly he felt for all those years that he couldn't bring it out. And the
but his things is a totally different thing.
No, but I'm just saying, you're saying that players can't. Some people just feel they cannot come out.
But this is a whole community. We look at in this day and age. I know this is probably another topic we should do, but you look at, I guess, society now is far more. It's not totally accepting. I get that, but it's far more accepting. And I just find it incredible that you've got like a whole industry, a whole set of employees who just not one person has decided. Well, no one high profile. I know there's a German player.
I know through my work. I know of a couple who, through evidence that we've got, that 95% that they are gay or either bi. I mean, it's no big deal really, but. Obviously, I can't say who they are, but I think you'll find more clubs.
Write down their initials on the book.
You'll find more clubs, I think, this weekend adopting the rainbow laces thing because of the partnership with the Premier League.
Well, I hope so. We've all got to live and let live, and it's just.
That's a good Super Cool, and we'll have to, that is a topic I think we should return to. For me, mine, because I was trying to remember how long ago it was for the last podcast. And it might be a bit old hat now, but I wanted to call out Southgate, who's another sort of a man crush slightly behind Silva. I've said to you, Harty, I like what Southgate's doing in the England team. And I think he should be commended for bringing in the young players.
Yeah.
And I think an international manager, I think we've got it right at the moment in terms of someone who's looked after the under-21s and all that. Those players have worked under him, respect him. I think he's a bright guy. I think it was a good decision to do that. And not necessarily short term, but I think longer term, he is a really good appointment for England, is my view. But I would call him out as a
But
real
what happens if
that.
it all goes wrong in Russia and Ben I'm not saying Ben, but Ben's contemporaries, his colleagues and other people in the media.
The pitchforks will be out.
Yeah, lead a witch hunt. That's the problem. I mean, I agree with you. I think he's a great appointment and that he's an appointment for the future. But it is a quick fix thing, isn't it? And if it doesn't go right,
you need some trust, and you need to think of the next 5 or 10 years. I think
you need at least 3 tournaments, don't you? Really, as an England manager, but you're not going to get him, are you? Really?
I'd like to see Arsene Wenger in the job.
Only because you want to get rid of him.
Yeah, not just because I want him job.
So he'd be dead by 3 tournaments. Only about 70 or whatever.
I know the FA have always been quite keen on him.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to see how he gets on next summer.
That'd be good. Yeah,
I think it'd be a pot report. So in terms, we're going reverse order. I'll kick off the major tools and then pass back to you guys. I'd say I've got one, poacher turned gamekeeper. As obviously a Liverpool fan from a kid, and picking up when we moved here 12 years ago. The Brighton thing, wanting to give the kids a local team and all that, and being a season ticket holder. So I've now gone from that thing of supporting, if you like, a big club versus now one that's on the up, but it's obviously a smaller club. And I'm really noticing, this thing about where people have a go at the big clubs about getting decisions or the feedback they get in the media. And I'm really starting to see it now. And I have to say, Brighton, both on Talk Sport and Match of the Day, I was at the game as was Harty against Man U.
Yeah.
Brighton were absolutely tremendous. They lost to a deflected goal. It's travesty they didn't come away with something. And I watched Match of the Day, and they decided to spend probably 80% of their post-game review talking about Ashley Young.
And we didn't even get to see Fellaini's potential handball, did we?
No. Oh, the foul on Knockout and all that stuff that got the crowd going.
There's nothing.
And I just thought there was no, having been at the game, there was no reflection of what had gone on. And then I tuned into Talk Sport on the way driving back, and I went on and spoke with it was Joey Barton and Danny Kelly. The guy, I think it was Perry Groves. Every time they were talking about the results of the day, it was Brighton, what a performance from Matty Ryan, the Brighton keeper, to keep them in the game and stuff. And I was like, hang on a second, he did make 1 or 2 good saves, but we outplayed United, and so my major tool is almost like a media play. Matchday Talk Sport on the. I do now see at the other side of the fence that the smaller clubs do not get a fair crack.
We are the Robin Hoods of the media. We're against the sheriff.
Is that because they've got more fans to appease, though, the radio stations?
It shouldn't be about appeasement. It should be about reporting the facts.
That's what it's about these days. You need listeners.
It's about reporting the facts.
I mean, Ashley.
Well, you can deliver the facts in
But Match of the Day spent 8% of the time not only lauding Ashley Young and repeating about watching him roasting Anthony Knockout on about 3 occasions, which fair enough, he did roast Anthony Knockout. But the game, in terms of players you've been called out,
what's going on?
Really disappointing.
Yeah, no, I'm just messing. I agree. I think it's pretty lazy sometimes. It's just.
And it's a throwaway comment at the end for like shit. But Brighton, by the way, they're very unlucky not getting it. Fantastic, but it was just like a throwaway line at the end of it all, Yeah. Anyway, I've finished my rant.
Come on then, Ben. Who's your major tool?
It's hard because I've only just caught a few games at the weekend, and because I've been in lucky me America for 4 weeks, just doing a bit of travelling.
Living the dream.
So that my major tool comes from there, and it's not football related as such because
we're not getting into your relationship or anything now.
Because it's American football, which I have a thing with. It's absolute nonsense, and I had the displeasure of watching a bit of it on telly. I had a tour around the Dallas Cowboys stadium as well in Texas, and my girlfriend and I had a bit of a laugh. The guy who was showing us around, he absolutely loved the Cowboys and he loved American football, and he was telling us what a fantastic stadium this was and all this and that. And he took us to the owner's suite, and it was rubbish. It was so bad. It was slack. It was dirty. But as for the actual sport itself, I don't understand how so many Americans love American football. It's stop-start, it's slow, it's boring, and it's not football. And they need to start calling soccer football.
You've just answered your question. It's the American nation.
Yeah, they're absolutely crackers. The Americans. I like them, but they're absolutely bonkers. And for a sport that's played mostly with their hands, where does the foot come into it as well? So.
Crazy, absolutely mad, as you say.
Good call. So on 45 minutes, Mr. Hart, the floor is yours.
I will be
Bring him in on Major Tool.
Romelu Lukaku, Major Tool.
Ah, right.
Have a look
Tell
at
us
the
more.
No, have a look at the corner which Ashley Young eventually scored from. He fouled Gatenbong not once but twice, and I thought referees were supposed to also look out off the ball